Originally, I'd intended today, the title of today's broadcast was supposed to be about physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects of Jeet Kune Do training. But with all that's going on, and since we have to be indoors somewhat and self-isolation and what have you, I thought we'd just get together and talk about JKD and whatever else comes up. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, and welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast number 119. This is the one about being under lockdown. Right. So as you're logging in, if you guys would be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button and feel free to continue doing so throughout the broadcast. If you're watching the final edit video on the YouTube, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell as well. If you enjoy what I do here and you'd like to support the program, visit jkdrebel.com/store and check out our offerings. But of course, as always, the best thing you can do is to share the video and spread the word about the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. Let me see who's here. Hey, Russell. Russell, I actually have a question for you, but I think I might just message it to you. Pedro Rodriguez is here from South Florida. Hey, Mark Stewart, Terry Valor. All right, yeah, thanks, Pedro. You same to you. Stay safe. Tavis LeMay is in from Seattle. Dusty Gerald locked down in Indiana, along with Russell Fuson. All right, Bill saying world traveler. Bill Singh was in California, then he was in Washington State, now he's in Oklahoma. I don't think Bill Singh is actually going to be able to leave the United States anytime soon. So, and if you guys want to see Bill Singh's diet since he's been here with Bob Landers, you got to go to Bob's page and take a look there. Hey, Kevin Porter. Actually, you know, let me just talk to you about this, because since one of the things that came up, and Kevin, I saw a post from Kevin. So Kevin, when he was training at my school, Kevin's one of those like go-to guys, you know, who's capable of, he's like a real man, he's like a real human being, so he can build stuff and what have you. And so, you know, the topic of having to train at home is something that has come up recently. And I saw some pictures of stuff that Kevin had built, like a Wing Chun dummy that he used. He built it from the base is one of those Century Wave Masters, and that was actually something that I was gonna talk about a little bit, right? Who else is here? Glenn, yeah, that's my boy Glenn. Aiden from Belfast. Bill Singh says he's gonna leave tomorrow. I hope so, right? Paul Johnson from the United Kingdom. Paul, I've actually been watching The Guardian and the Telegraph, I think, to keep an eye on what's going on across the pond, as they say. John Doty's here. All right, cool. Okay, so listen, I had intended to, you know, do like my little news report, like the real broadcast, and then stay on with you guys after I'd finished. But I just learned that my Publix grocery store closes at 8 p.m. tonight. So I'll give you the news report. I like to call it that, right? And then I'll stay on a little bit and we'll talk about whatever we can. But I kind of have to book by 7 p.m. or so, right? So what I was thinking is that it's incredible how in some cases the world has come to a virtual slowdown, or not even virtual, like a literal slowdown, and in some cases a standstill. And I personally have never seen such a worldwide response to, you know, to a single issue. But as you know, for me, because I regard Jeet Kune Do also as a philosophy, so that's always driven me to seek the cause of my own ignorance, right? So I've been applying that technique, right, of seeking the cause of ignorance to this whole coronavirus situation. And one thing that strikes me is the absolute politicizing of the issue, which means then that there's a Jeet Kune Do angle to it for me, since we suffer so much from politics in the JKD world, right? And this is pretty funny. Just this morning, I heard that the state of Kansas had decided to close school for the rest of the year. And I thought, what the heck? They're going to close school until December? And then I realized that what they meant was the academic school year, right? So even a relatively rational person like me is subject to panicking over stuff that is just not true, right? So in an effort to not have you panic about stuff, I've been scouring the interwebs, you know, and looking around for stuff, and I found that you know, there are people who are saying that, and these are pretty much qualified people. So I found this one report that said when it comes to like infection rates for, and again, don't take my word for any of this. I'm just gonna share with you guys some of the stuff that I've come across, right? This one Dr. Levitt, and I think he's over in Israel, and he was saying that one of the things that we have to do is to think about the coronavirus as a really, really, really bad flu. So even though the infection rates and what have you to the regular flu, let's call it, right, are not the same, and there are years, like he said, back in 2017, when there was a raging flu in the United States, it was 3 times the regular number of mortalities, and still nobody in the United States panicked, right? So his message is that you need to think of corona like a severe flu, because it's 4 to 8 times as strong as a common flu, even though most people will remain healthy and humanity will survive, right? So that was one thing. The other thing, I don't know how many of you guys have seen this, but there's a report. It's called passive antibody therapy. So according to Columbia University Center for Infection and Immunity, there's a Dr. Lipkin who is called the virus hunter. So plasma therapy has been working very well against novel coronavirus and is expected to be available to the public in 4 weeks. A paper set to come out soon in a medical journal shows that 10 out of 10 patients treated with plasma from patients who've recovered from COVID-19 had excellent results. Right, so that might be something that you guys might want to take a look at. In you know, because it's important that we maintain, you know, good mental equilibrium throughout all of this. Especially, see, I'm lucky because I am a social inept. So as a matter of fact, I remember one of my good friends back in the airline days telling me that. That I was one of the greatest people that she knew, but I just had zero social skills, right? So social distancing and being on your own and what have you, it's not that hard for me. I'm just happy that it's now become like in vogue for everybody else. Anyhow, so here's another report that I came across. So the headline was a combination of 2 anti-HIV drugs prove crucial in coronavirus treatment. And this is out of Jaipur in India. And essentially it said that the combination of these 2 drugs, let me see if I could find the names. No, but I know there's another report that I saw that did actually name them, but I don't have that here in front of me. Anyhow, they said that the patient's conditions improved after they were administered the anti-HIV drugs. 3 of the 4 patients have now been declared coronavirus free. The first 2 patients tested positive. They were an Italian couple. So this is something that was going on in India, right? Their symptoms were flu-like. So they were initially given anti-malaria and anti-swine flu drugs. And since the structure of coronavirus is similar to that of HIV to some extent, they tried a combination of the 2 HIV drugs, and it appears that that combination is working because 3 patients have recovered. All 3 patients are elderly, and the successful result of the drug on patients of such age is a big deal, right? So that's pretty cool, you know. So there is some there is hope out there, even though, you know, if we keep our eyes glued and our ears glued to some of the media reports, you know, sometimes the media appears to thrive on the whole doom and gloom scenario. And on the interweb, so now we'll talk about some of the responses that I've seen from JKD colleagues of mine. And the first one is from Burton Richardson. And Bert put up a post a couple of days ago, so a lot of you guys have probably seen it, but just in case you haven't. And it was a quote from Graham Medley, who is a professor of infectious disease modeling. And he said that most people have a fear of acquiring the virus. I think a good way of doing it is to imagine that you do have the virus and change your behavior so that you're not transmitting it. Don't think about changing your behavior so you won't get it. Think about changing your behavior so you don't give it to somebody else. Right, and Burton Richardson, the gentleman that he always is, he gave a shout out to Dan Kegel. Apparently, Dan Kegel was the one who he got this post from, right? And then Sifu Leo Fong, he said lockdown is a great opportunity to get into peak condition. Now, you guys got to understand, Sifu Leo is 90. Gosh, I forget now. I think he's 92 or something, right? So here's an esteemed JKD gentleman telling those of us who are nowhere near age 90 that lockdown is a great opportunity to get into peak condition. He's been in lockdown for 3 months because of a lung condition, right? And of course, he is, you know, part of that highly susceptible group. So he says his routine is to walk 6,000 steps in the house, right? 18 sets of total body exercises with a 10-pound dumbbell, 6 rounds of shadow boxing with 3-pound hand width pipes, 25 sit-ups, 25 waist twists, 25 leg lifts, and then supplementary training with a hand gripper and punching a lead-filled leather palm bag, right? He says this has helped him to heal his lungs and feel in shape, and his martial arts skills have improved. And I think this entire program, the entire program is going to be in an upcoming book that he should have out. He hopes to have out in June, called Roadmap to 92 and Beyond. Yeah, I think I have that right, right? So exercise, food, and mental attitude. So that's pretty cool, right? And then there was another post. This came in just earlier today. Well, I saw it only earlier today from Chris Kent, my JKD senior. And Chris says, we're all going through a very difficult situation at this time, and it can become very easy to become inundated and even overwhelmed by our own internal opponents, the invisible enemies that can invade our minds. Negative emotions such as worry, fear, anxiety, and anger. I am the first to admit that I get hit by them on a daily basis. But what I've found is that in going back and reading through the philosophical elements of JKD, I can better adapt to and fit in with what is going on. I'm not trying to preach to anyone here, but if you feel such negative emotions, perhaps if you simply look at the philosophy underpinning the art you train in, it might help you in the same way it has helped me. And in so doing, we can all keep blasting and walk on. In the spirit of JKD, Chris Kent. Yeah, right. So, you know, I wanted to share that kind of you know, JKD particular response with you guys, just in an effort to help everybody to deal with what's going on here. Hang on a sec. So and then in you know, watching the news and what have you, I found out that there are communities where, you know, it's really cool how in crisis the human spirit, right, starts to coalesce, and people start getting together and what have you. So I've heard reports about stay-at-home parents who are volunteering like childcare services to other parents who are unable to telework. And telework is a new term, right? It'll soon be in Webster's dictionary and Oxford dictionary, I'm sure, right? There are restaurants who are providing free meals to displaced service industry workers. And grocery stores are offering special times for senior citizens to come shopping, right? So I just realized I'd had a thing here to show to you. This is the thing. This is the report from. This is the report out of India. So if you wanna look it up yourselves, then go ahead and it's from a thing called the Economic Times, right? And I advise doing stuff like that. Don't do stuff like this. So actually, this is another. I've never done this before. So let's see if it works. I'm not sure.
Yeah, till July sounds like a bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry, but like, it's a virus. I get it. Like, I respect it, but at the same time, like, even if everybody gets it, like, yeah, people are gonna die. It's just terrible, but like, inevitable? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't.
All right, so enough of that. Be sure, don't be somebody who gets like your advice from somebody like that. My understanding is that this person is like over 30 years old and talks like she's 12. And if you have impressionable young kids, don't let them get their advice from people like that. And also, don't let them don't let them be influenced by stuff like this. So now the coolest thing, one of the coolest things about this person is her name. This is Danielle Outlaw. That's actually her last name, who is, I think she's police commissioner for Philadelphia. And so what they did is the Philadelphia police are going to delay arrests for certain nonviolent crimes during the coronavirus pandemic, right? So then they list, you know, so they're not gonna imprison people for whatever, right? Okay, all right, well, that's fine. Have your policy, but don't advertise it. Don't advertise that there are certain crimes that people are not going to be treated as harshly for, or what have you. How about you keep that to yourself and just let the officers go out and do their jobs, right? Okay, all right. So I'm never one to leave you on a negative note. So let me just tell you this other thing, right? My understanding is that in politics, people are kind of crossing party lines and expressing approval for the efforts of the federal government and what have you. So Gavin Newsom, the California governor, Andrew Cuomo, the New York governor, and then there's a CNN journalist, Dana Bash or something. And my understanding, none of them are like friends of President Trump, but my understanding is they've all recently been complimentary of President Trump. And so that made me think, imagine if we started to see something similar in the JKD world, where people start appreciating the efforts of those from the other Jeet Kune Do camps, even if they don't, you know, agree with their policies or see things exactly the same way, but they're able to express true appreciation for the contributions or the efforts that that these people have made, right? So one more thing, if you're a JKD instructor, you know, you might want to consider making use of this kind of online platforming stuff to get your teaching out to your students during this lockdown. I actually have a couple of different plans for what I'll be doing with my two little groups here in Miami. So I encourage you to take a look at that. All right, so that's it, the news report. I don't know if there's anything that anybody who's on here, who else came on? Anthony Andujar, Eric, hey, Eric's here from Puerto Rico. Who else? The Real Rick Brochure, Bob Landers, hey, Nick Cavallino. Okay, all right, so Bob Landers, you and I have talked about Sifu and Asano. That's not going to happen. That's not something that that's in his what they call it, bellwether or what have you, right? So if nobody's got anything that they want to talk about or what have you, I will close this up and head on out to Publix and get myself eggs. Because there were no eggs. Kevin Porter, you got to tell me what's up with people in Miami. I mean, I understand the toilet paper and the water and what have you, but eggs, man, why in heaven's name would Miami run out of eggs? Anyhow, so yeah, Bill's saying I'd love to have him on the podcast myself, but it's not going to happen. All right, so okay, so then I will just wrap this up. You guys know the deal. Feel free to share, like, comment. If you think of a question to ask about afterwards, I'll review everything after posting. Sign up for notifications for when we go live here on Facebook. And then, as always, subscribe over on the YouTube and hit the notification bell when you do that. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. I love JKD.com. The Quick Skills Series Volume 1 is still available. Volume 2 will be produced in 2020. Coming up on Friday, March 20th, Jeet Kune Do Dialogues with Old School. My senior, Davis Lear, who is of the old Kali and the old Inasano Academy. So that's this Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Today is an Indigo Day, right? This is one of my new ones and one of my new favorite ones, right? And so I'll see some of you perhaps on Friday with Davis Lear. The rest of you I'll see maybe next Wednesday for another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast, or if I actually decide to do something online in between, then I'll be sure to give you advance notice about it. Okay, all right, that's it. This is Dwight Woods of Jeet Kune Do Rebel signing off. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Yeah. Okay. You don't need gloves.
Focus next?
I'm just putting on.
Like stop. Don't stop.
Have at. Fly. Now convert.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay, so push and hit. Pull and hit. Got it?
Yes, sir.
And switch the glove, switch lead, then switch people.
Yes, sir.